Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis updated commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodity ETFs that I follow. If you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I go over individual companies, sectors, where I dive into the companies themselves, and a lot of training. But let's dive in here. Let's see what's going on today, and I can give you my financial opinions. So we've got the DXY here. It is more or less just chugging sideways here. We are just tracking sideways, moving on along, not a clear direction in the short term. And again, yields are going to have an impact on this. Are we going to move up, which generally yields will go up with that? Or are we going to travel down where yields start to pull on back? That's really the big question. Why does it matter? Well, I mean, yields price a whole bunch of things. They price the DXY against other currencies, they price assets, and they determine money flows. So right now, the dollar, more or less, is just trading sideways in a tight range. The 2 year is pulling on back. We're on support, the support line going across there. And, could we get a move lower? Or is this thing going to move on up? And that's been kind of the short term question. The 2 year basically does whatever Powell is kind of going to do. Powell tells his buddies, or their buddies all know what's going to happen. The banks find out, and then the banks basically price the 2 year yield similarly to what the Fed's going to do. So it's probably close to where the Fed should, where the Fed funds rate should be, and it looks like it's fallen to some degree lower. But in the short term here, I mean, this can go either direction, guys. We're on support. We've got kind of a larger bearish candlestick here. Then we followed up with a little bit more of a bullish candlestick behind it, where it gapped down a little bit and came up above the 50th percentile. I mean, this could go either direction in the short term. 10-year yield falling back a little bit. We had some bullish engulfings here, which generally indicate that we want to go higher. But yields went lower today, down 1.7%. Pretty decent move. And everything's still kind of holding together so far. And I can throw a trend line in here, but it's not really a trend line because you only have a couple points. So I hate to use that, but we were lower today for the 10-year, lower on the 30-year as well, down 1.3%. We're at that resistance line, trying to cross it, and we haven't done that. We've backed off from it. And again, we'll have to watch this over the next few trading sessions to see what we get. Is this just a go up, hit resistance, and loop back around? Or are we actually going to get some sustained move to the downside? TYX TNX ratio, this looks good to go higher and uninvert. I mean, this thing looks like it's building like it wants to go. Scrolling out, I mean, that does look pretty good to move on up. And what does that mean? Well, it means that the 10-year yield could go down more than the 30-year yield. The curve uninverts. The short end most likely would go lower too. And this curve would go up, and it'd be a tailwind behind precious metals if that does occur. We've got TLT bond prices looking like it's trying to turn. We hit this support level, and we popped up higher. Now, again, I don't know if this is sustaining. It's not a reversal candlestick, so it's tough to say. We need more data here. You could draw a trend line in here and say, well, yeah, the trend line's looking like that's pretty much broken. But again, let's wait and see. Let's get a couple more data points on this. And the 2 and 10 inverted from that perspective because the 10-year was down 1.7% and the 2-year was down only 0.9%. So the yield curve stays inverted at the moment. So gold, slightly higher, up 13.3%. But again, what I see is a broken trend line to the downside and just sideways action. No large green candlesticks, no powerful uptrend move. You can also throw a trend line kind of through here where it kind of squeezed up into the corner here. If that's the case, you can basically say that this is going to be your potential move lower, and that's somewhere down here. So again, I want to wait and see, is this a continuation pattern here where we go lower, where we enter down, consolidated, and enter lower, or are we actually trying to move on up? Because we did have bond prices bouncing off support. So sometimes the short term can get mucky, but my guess is we still go sideways to lower. Silver looks actually pretty good though. So this is continuing to muddy the waters of which direction we are going in the short term. This looks pretty good. It's a pretty strong finish today. So, I mean, this looks good to try to move on up. Looks like we've got a little bit of resistance going across here. And if we punch through that, I mean, momentum's to the upside. We'll see if we can punch through this little resistance line and get moving on up. Platinum been moving on up. That actually looks really good. Strong day today. Let's hope the momentum can continue. And palladium also looks pretty strong today, up 2.9% with a pretty strong close. And this does look like to me that we are bottoming, like we're going to try to move on up. XAU to gold ratio, some people were positioning in gold and silver mining companies up 0.3 or up 0.5%. And there we are breaking that downtrend line and doing the retest thing. So that does look like it wants to try to move on up. And we still need to break that long-term resistance line that we haven't broken yet. CRB down, oil was down today. So we've got to break out. A lot of the times we get a return move somewhere, and that's what I think we're going to put in next, is a return move to the downside. CRB to S&P 500, commodities underperforming SPX, so we pulled back a little bit there. We've got GDX up 1%. That's kind of a weird looking candlestick there. We've got lots of volatility going on right now. I don't know if this knows which direction it wants to go in. But right now, we got to wait and hold. GDXJ, same thing. Same with SILJ. We really want to know where yields are going to go. Yields are going to drive all this. Crude oil, larger selling pressure day to day. This could mean that we get a little bit more, a little bit of a pullback to bearish engulfing. And we'll see if we get that pullback over the next few days. TTF gas is right in the corner. It's trying to break the downtrend line. Again, we'll see if we can break through it and rip. I grabbed natural gas. There were some rollovers of contracts, but we were down 6% in natural gas today. And I think we're going to be getting close to a bottom here probably over the next month or so. Because this is a really low price. They're gonna peel back. The rig count's already peeled back. I think we'll see production probably decline a little bit at prices this low. It's at $2.06. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, up 0.08%, holding it down today, just moving sideways. And guys, I really like this long-term chart. Hopefully we can break to the upside at some point in 2024. We have bullish engulfing on the weekly here. That looks good to go higher. It looks good. OIH also looking good. We've got a little bloody nose today on the weeklies. We're moving on up. Today was a flat day. But on the weeklies, we got the bloody nose. I still think we're going to head on higher. It's much like this candlestick here. Usually get wicks at the bottom for bottoming. It looks good to make a try to the upside. Sprothless Uranium Trust, bouncing off support, up 3.4%. Looks pretty strong. It's almost like a bullish engulfing. So I'd say we're gonna give it a thrust here. Breakout, retest, and then a move on up. We've got URA. It's not looking too bad, guys. Generally, if you're going to pull back, you don't get these large wicks on the bottom. You don't get these reversals. So here's what I mean by reversal. It came on down and it reversed on up. Momentum's going to the upside. So I think it looks good. I think we could. I mean, if the buyers want to step in here, which they're doing, and if they can keep that momentum rolling, I think we could see a move on up. Uranium's doing the same thing, bullish engulfing with a wick at the bottom. It's a hammer candlestick is what we call it. That looks like it wants to go higher. And URNJ's got the same hammer candlestick. Gap isn't completely filled there. It is on this one. So a lot of gaps are filled. It's not looking too bad for uranium equities. Looks like we could potentially go higher. We've got TAN, bullish engulfing. Looks like that wants to go and move on up. That looks pretty good. We've got COPX, another bullish engulfing today. That looks really good to go higher. So that looks good for copper. Lithium is putting in, it's looking a little better. I mean, I like that it gapped down and then buyers came on up and pushed it back up throughout the day. That's what I mean. It gapped down in the morning, came all the way back up. So momentum's to the upside, and we'll see if they can hold that momentum. REMX, bullish engulfing, looks good to go higher. We'll see if we can get moving to the upside here. It's a reversal candlestick. S&P 500 starting to strengthen its stretch its legs, lengthen it out. It's looking good. And then the NASDAQ also going up 1.12%. Strong finish. It looks pretty good to go higher for the NASDAQ. Looking at the regional bank ETF, looks good to go on up. Looks very strong, broken out of this flag pattern to the upside. Emerging markets right at resistance line. This is going to take some time, it looks like. We got to get moving. XHB up 0.84%, looks good. I still think it looks like we could go sideways or slightly higher if we can get some movement, but sideways at the moment. MOO putting in a nice candlestick today, about 0.5% higher. We're coming back to that support line at $69. So it's trying to slow down. Is this a flag pattern? We'll have to see. And again, guys, I'm not a short-term trader. I don't trade this stuff on the short term. I buy it, hold it, and very patient. Copper looks good to continue higher. We've got big bullish engulfing here. Came up into a kind of a flag pattern that's broken to the upside. So it looks good to go higher. And that's copper futures pricing. Iron ore still looking good to go higher. Looks pretty solid. We've got aluminum continuing to work its way on up, and I think that will continue until we get a reversal candlestick. I like the big, large green candlesticks that we've got over here and here, and small red candlesticks. I think the sellers are getting worn out. Buyers are going to take control soon. Baltic Dry Index up 1.27%, and we're right on support. We'll see if the support holds and if we can turn this thing around. Newcastle Coal, we're down 1.4%, but again, I think we are trying to base here in this general location. And then Bitcoin up 2.87%. That looks pretty good. It's a big bullish engulfing. I think we're going higher. It's definitely looking like it's reversing. And Ethereum also putting in bullish engulfing, bullish engulfing. Looks like it wants to go higher. Those both look pretty good, and it looks like we've got some reversal candlesticks there. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you'd like. Use the word discount, the coupon code. And that's all I've got, guys. I mean, we're bouncing around. The biggest part that I think you need to be watching is what trend is yields going to set here. If yields come back, which they could. I mean, if the Federal Reserve is going to lower rates, they could come back. We could get a slowdown in the market, and gold and silver would take off then. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for what direction are yields going to trend in. And right now, it's kind of difficult to know. I mean, we're kind of in an uptrend. We had a down day. Now we got to see if that down movement continues or if the upward trend is still intact. And right now, I would say the upward trend is still intact until it's not. So That would be my take at the current moment of yields. But that's what I've got for today, and we'll catch you guys later. This is Finding Value.